This day's the day, bad luck's always coming my way.
From New York's award-winning news station, this is the new Channel 11 Action News.
Good evening. David Berkowitz, 24 years old, a postal worker, walked out of his Yonkers apartment last night, turned the ignition key in his car, and found himself surrounded by police. Well, he said, "You got me." Police say those words ended the biggest manhunt in New York City history with the capture of Son of Sam.
After more than 13 months of following thousands of leads down endless blind alleys, the detectives of the Brooklyn Omega Squad, part of that 300-cop 44-killer manhunt, captured the man they say is Son of Sam. Police transported David Berkowitz from headquarters to Brooklyn Central Booking. After, my sources say, he confessed to being the 44 killer. After he told them he was a killing machine, ordered by a voice speaking through a neighbor's dog to carry out his bloody outrages against young, pretty women.
He's going to be charged with 4 counts. 1, murder in the 2nd degree, an A1 felony, punishable for 25 years to life. 2, attempted murder in the 2nd degree, also assault in the 1st degree, a C felony, and possession of a deadly weapon in the 3rd degree, a D felony.
For today's Grimm adventure, we find ourselves in Oakland Cemetery in Yonkers, New York. Today we're going to be telling the story of serial killer David Berkowitz, who terrorized New York City in the late 70s. Some called him Mr. 44 or the 44 caliber killer, but most people know him as Son of Sam.
Let them stand on the steps, the guys. It'll be better, because then you can see them.
I'm over here. Can you get a chance?
Yeah.
No rolling, show. Right along, right along.
Wait. Okay. Shut up.
I want the red light to be on.
Okay.
No. I want the red light to be on over there.
It's starting now. Okay. Would you tell me what has happened in this neighborhood since the killing by Son of Sam?
What has happened? A lot of people want to kill him. A lot of people want to go out by themselves and kill him because they knew the girl, right? And they want to go out, they want to kill him because he's a crazy guy, and I like to see him killed. But I'm not afraid because I got a lot of people hanging out with me, see them all. Get them all.
And we'll all attack him.
That'll never play.
And we'll all attack him.
Come on.
Okay.
What has happened in this neighborhood since the killing?
What has happened? A lot of people want to go and they want to get that guy because they know the people, and these people in this neighborhood won't stand for that. Especially a sick maniac like that. After what he did in Queens, and then he came here, he's a crazy guy, and I like to see him tortured, not arrested and put in jail. I like to see him tortured for what he did.
Dogs at him. Nah, you don't talk like that.
Aren't you afraid to be out on the street after dark?
All right, I'm afraid when I'm alone with one of my friends, but I got plenty of people here. And I'm not that afraid because I got a crowd. But otherwise, I'd be afraid. Of course I'd be afraid. He's a sick guy. He'd kill anytime.
Yeah, but we're so mad about how many times he's done that. We're so mad that, fed up, that I would attack him if he missed. I would attack him.
Let me ask you, why are you willing to go out at night?
Because I'm not afraid, because I'm with a lot of people at night. I'm not afraid. If I was sitting in a parked car with a guy, then I'd be afraid. No way would I sit in a parked car. Yeah, but see, if I'm hanging out, I'm with a lot of people, and he ain't gonna come. Now with there's a lot of people, but they gotta get him, and I know the people from this neighborhood, if they see him, they're gonna get him.
They're gonna kill him.
When it comes to the world of serial killers here in the United States, the 70s seemed to be where the majority of everything took place, where like serial killers and mass murders really kind of blew up. In the grand scheme of things, David Berkowitz actually only killed for 1 year, from July 1976 to July 1977. In fact, I think the last killing was July 31st, 1977, and he was apprehended on August 10th. Now, just a heads up, for this video, we're not going to be visiting any of the locations where David Berkowitz killed his 6 victims. Instead, we're going to focus mainly on this street right here. Right now, I'm walking on Pine Street, and that building that you see in the center of your screen is where Berkowitz lived.
David Berkowitz, 24 years old, a postal worker, walked out of his Yonkers apartment last night, turned the ignition key in his car, and found himself surrounded by police. Well, he said, "You got me." Police say those words ended the biggest manhunt in New York City history with the capture of Son of Sam.
After more than 13 months of following thousands of leads down endless blind alleys, the detectives of the Brooklyn Omega Squad, part of that 300 Cop 44 killer manhunt, captured the man they say is Son of Sam. The ice-cold trail heated up suddenly during the past week.
Looking at the building, it looks just like any other building here in Yonkers. You'd have no idea that Berkowitz was living here, the Son of Sam. Walking up the street here, when we get up closer to the front door, you're going to see that it says 42 Pine Street. And actually, back whenever Berkowitz lived here, the address was 35. So it was changed at some point. Even more so back then, when Berkowitz lived here, it was called the Pine Hill Towers. There we go, there's this red awning up here. So now it's called 42 the Horizon Hill. The H is missing, so it says Horizon Ill. Pretty quiet street for the most part. So where inside this building was David Berkowitz's apartment, his bachelor pad? He lived by himself, and his apartment was pretty much, well, it was pretty messy. There's different photos you can find online. Here's some of them right here. Now, I saw people list 6E and 7E being his apartment. Well, standing here, I can tell you that there's 7 floors, and David Berkowitz's apartment was 7E, which is on the back side of the building. You can't see it from right here, but it's right over on the corner, right over there. Well, like I said, Berkowitz only had 6 victims, and he actually confessed to all 6 of them. And how he chose his victims were basically, well, 100% at random. He would get in his car and he would drive around and searching for a couple, somebody that he could, you know, kind of sneak up on and shoot point blank with his .44 caliber pistol. And if he didn't find somebody that night, he would go home and he would try again the next night. In a period of 1 year, he killed 6 people, and I think it was altogether there was like 11 people that were wounded, which included stabbings.
This is a police sketch of the suspect in one of the nastiest murder cases New York police have had come their way in a long time. The killer police are looking for is called the .44 caliber killer because of the weapon he has used.
I'm afraid to go out in the car. I'm afraid to do anything. Never know where he's going to be.
Do you feel personally threatened by the .44 caliber killer because you have long dark hair?
Yes, I do.
Excuse me, I'm Jeff Kamen from Channel 11 News. Do you feel personally threatened by the .44 caliber killer because you have long brown hair?
No. Not at all.
Did you ever think of cutting your hair because of him?
No, I never thought of going to that extent of it. Just
how Berkowitz got caught is a bit of a strange tale. In fact, it's 100% coincidence. You see, the night of his last killing, there was a bit of an eyewitness. A woman saw a very suspicious looking figure lurking in the dark around a car that was being ticketed, like a parking ticket. And he was carrying something, like a dark object, which later turned out to be a gun. She was nervous, and she kind of turned and she walked very quickly down the road to her house. And as she did this, she heard gunshots. So the next day, I think it was, or 4 days later, don't remember which, she ended up calling the police and she told them about this. So the police started pulling all the different records of all the cars that were ticketed, parking tickets, on that street near the crime scene. And David Berkowitz's name came up.
And this is what they say tripped up the .44 caliber killer, a parking ticket. David Berkowitz drove this cream-colored Ford Galaxy from his home in Yonkers to Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. He parked in front of 290 Bay 17th Street. But in the place he parked was this fire hydrant, and police had the lead they needed.
A Brooklyn woman who saw a car parked illegally and occupied by a strange-looking man moments before she heard the shots of the last Son of Sam attack finally contacted police.
The man come towards me. He had a long thing like a bell sticking up his sleeve, and he made a left turn. I heard a boom. I didn't know he was a killer. I didn't know he looked nice.
The plan was to set up an interview with David Berkowitz, and keep in mind at this point they had no idea that Berkowitz was the son of Sam. Now, in the chain of command in setting up this interview, one of the people that was involved says, wait a second, I know that man. He lives behind my dad, Sam Carr. And we've had a run-in with him before. You see, he doesn't like my dad's dog barking, and at one point he shot him and almost killed him. And the police hear this, the Son of Sam task force, and they say, wait a second, Sam. Coincidence? Now, August 10th, 1977, the police come up here to investigate, and they find David Berkowitz's car parked right here on the street. They look inside, and what do they see? Laying in the back seat? A gun. Probable cause, so they search it. And inside they find maps of the crime scenes, notes, they find letters written to the Son of Sam task force. They knew they had their man. The police knew exactly who they were dealing with, the type of monster that they were dealing with, the Son of Sam. And instead of storming this building and risk somebody getting hurt, they decided to hang back and wait for Berkowitz to come out. And he did. When David Berkowitz was arrested, he was actually sitting in his car, which was parked on Pine Street, not too far from the front entrance to his apartment building. And for some reason, everybody thinks that where the car was parked is further down this road. I mean, it's a one-way street, but that's not where it was. There's an actual photograph that was taken of the police standing out front of the car. Well, you know, right next to the car at nighttime, because he was arrested at 10 o'clock at night. And you see this house in the photograph, which means that silverish gray car, that's where David Berkowitz, where he was sitting, where he got arrested. And you can see that house in the background. The small roof above that front porch right there, it's still the same. The house really hasn't changed much. And here's another old photo that was taken from right about here. Right now we're just driving around the block, heading down to where the Sam Carr house is to look up at the Berkowitz apartment. See if we can see his actual apartment, you know, the window at least. But that's the apartment building on the left-hand side, just a little bit further down around the corner. Almost there. Trying to document the apartment building from a couple different angles. Just to kind of tell the story all the way around. Right now I'm standing on the street directly behind the apartment building, and my best guess is Berkowitz's apartment would have been that one right there, high above the hill. And then directly behind me, this is the view that Berkowitz would have had from his apartment. And you see that building right there? That's the old Sam Carr building. Now, it's not that close. But just imagine, you know, you're high on a hill, the top floor overlooking a valley, and there's a dog barking into the night. It'd be enough to drive you crazy. You'd definitely hear it, especially in the dead of night. So let's zoom in here. That building right there is the old Sam Carr building. It's had a few different remodels over the years. That garage down there right next to the road is still the same. And then right above it, you can see that towering building, and that's David Berkowitz's home. In fact, his apartment is that one right there. I guess technically you can say that this is the home of the demon dog that spoke out to David Berkowitz to tell him to kill. A dog's barking off in the distance. I don't know if you guys heard that. It was kind of creepy.
And I had nothing against these victims. Who were these people to me? They were just people. You know, they didn't, I didn't hate them. I wasn't angry against them. So what did do it? Well, Sam did it through me. He used me. He made me go out there and do it. I did it for him, for blood.
Berkowitz eventually said that it was all lies, that the story of the possessed, the demon dog was all fake, something that he made up. But he did have an obsession with Sam Carr and the dog that kept barking night after night into the wee hours of the morning. As soon as we pulled up, the person who lives there now thought it was a good idea to walk their dog. They came outside that door to the left, right in the center of the building. It wasn't a black lab, but it was a small black dog. Wonder if its name was Harvey. Right now we're in Brooklyn, New York. Address 301 Gold Street. It's the 84th precinct. It's a police department. Out of all the places that David Berkowitz was taken after he was arrested, this is the most famous one because there's a whole bunch of footage of him at this police station. You know the colored photos where he's wearing the blue shirt, the button-down shirt? It's all right here. This clip that we're going to show you, the first thing that you're going to see is the address, 301 Gold Street, and that's this one right here. It's the 84th precinct. Now the doors themselves have changed and the lettering has changed, but this is it, this building. And in fact, on the other side, whenever they bring him in through the back, you can start to see everything come together a little bit more. Well, for obvious reasons, we can't walk back into the police lot. It does say authorized NYPD personnel and vehicles only, but we are safe on the sidewalk. But we know that this is the right place because in the video, you can actually see these brick slats on the side of the building right there. Those are still here, so really not much has changed. You can even see this building in the video as well.
Wait, there's nothing here.
This is where they brought David Berkowitz. And there were a whole bunch of reporters running around here wanting to get a picture or a video of the man who terrorized New York City.
Hey, Lou!
Hey, son, get out of here! Get out of here!
Get out! Get in the way. Get in the way. Let's get a picture. Come on. No, let's move this way, Dave. Come on. Move this way, Dave. Come on. Watch that.
Watch it now. Come on, you're only going to get hurt now, please.
And with that being said, thank you for joining us on another Grimm adventure, this time telling the story of David Berkowitz, the son of Sam, who terrorized New York City in the late 70s. It's 1976, 1977. I was born in 79. You were born in what year?
82.
So this was a little bit before our time. But just like a lot of other killers, David Berkowitz is one of those names that you just know. With that being said, until next time, happy Halloween.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. A bad luck's always coming my way.